You're listening to Damage Boost, the best gaming podcast you've ever heard, as long as you've never heard another gaming podcast. On the show, I'll be talking to other players, streamers, artists, and creators about what makes gaming more than a hobby, but a beautiful art and an activity that brings communities together around the world. Let's jump into it. Hey everybody, welcome to Damage Boost. I'm your host, Brock Holiday, and today with me I have Sam, aka DPad Gamer, back on the show to talk a little bit about life and a little bit about being a cat dad. How are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Today I wanted to have you on and just learn more about you. First question I have is the name. Where did it come from?
Alright, so when you have a controller, you look down. So, I used to be called something really cringy that was a reference to Assassin's Creed. And I don't want to say what it is because that channel still exists for some reason. But after that channel, it's my fourth channel. I had to come up with a new name because when I got partnered, back when being partnered was a thing, I couldn't use the same channel, so I needed a new name. So I just made a list of stuff, and I was like, all right, it needs to be good when shortened, something gaming related, I guess. If I say it, you should be able to spell it out just fine. Like, no X's, because that's just a bad time. I wasn't a sniper, so that throws out all those options. It was actually weird I didn't end up with something cringier, because I was super into Call of Duty at the time. But I went through the list, and I was like, I have nothing. But I thought of a DPad is a thing. And gamer, like, yeah, what? Okay, DPad gamer, is that taken? No? Alright, fine, we'll do that. I just went with it. So it sort of felt like it was like a whatever. I can't come up with anything better. But yeah, I just sort of rolled with that since 2012.
I mean, it sounds weird, but it seems to be uniquely you. I'm not as I don't watch a whole lot of gaming YouTubers. I kind of have the ones I follow and I stick with it, but I haven't seen a name like it yet. So it's definitely unique.
Yeah, sometime back, well, actually, over every so often, I'll go back and be like, all right, let's look this up. Last I checked, and I might be wrong, but I think as of at like 25,000 subscribers, I became the most popular something related to DPad. Because there's multiple channels, and not to put anyone down at all. It's just like, there was, there's just channels with variations of DPad. As it happens, Owlboy Studios Owlboy, the indie game is made by DPad Studios. Totally unrelated to me. Complete happenstance that have similar names. I think they're more popular than I am, but yeah, it's just like when it comes to like YouTube content creators, I happen to be the most popular DPad, I think. So it didn't take long, but I am at my apex, and I don't think I'll get any higher.
So, speaking of the YouTube thing, I always am interested when I talk to YouTubers to know when it became an option for you guys, or if it was even something that you even wanted to really do, or you just fell into it. How did that journey happen for you, and at what point did you realize, hey, like this is something I can make a living off of?
It's weird for me. So I got introduced to YouTube, I don't know exactly how, but it was sometime after 2006. I mean, so the YouTube came out in 2006, started as absolutely nothing, and then started getting a bit of a community going. Sometime in 2007 going to 2008, I found the platform, and back then, being a YouTuber wasn't really a thing. If you made videos, you were a YouTuber, but it's not like being a YouTuber meant any sort of financial anything. I don't even know when I thought of YouTube as a financial thing, but for a long time I was like, oh wow, like I would watch anime music videos, and because I liked anime. I still like anime, but back then I liked it unironically. Like I was like, yeah, I want to learn Japanese, and blah. It's like so cringy. And like anime music videos were one of my first introductions to be like, oh, that's right. Video has to be edited to exist. Like movies don't just exist; they record it and then they edit it. And it's just something I never really thought of. And I never done anything with video on the computer. Anything on the computer was just sort of video games. So I tried making like anime music videos, but that didn't go anywhere. But I had, for some reason, like started trying to make videos, seeing YouTubers, a lot of well, seeing people on YouTube, a lot of not vloggers, I guess vloggers in a way, but just so like like the OG YouTubers that you hear about these days. Like I watched a lot of those, and I was like, wow, they have fans, and that means they're not lonely. And I was wrong, but for some reason I was super lonely, and I was like, man, that I could be popular. So I didn't immediately go out and try to do it. I had some sort of weird self-awareness where I was like, yeah, no one's going to listen to me until my voice drops. Cause at that time I was like 13. After 16, I still tried making videos. It was still garbage. But somewhere along the way, I was just like, I just want to do this. And I just thought that. So like, I think every single year in my teenage years, so from 13 to 19, and obviously on, because at this point I'm almost 25, I have thought of and wanted to do YouTube in some capacity. It was only, I made some money of it, or with it, enough to like buy a game here or there between 2012 and like 2016. But at some point I was just like, man, my stuff sucks. Let's try something different. And I tried something different and it sucked, but I sort of built upon that. And then I was in between jobs in like 2016 while I was making my first sort of videos as I do now, this sort of era of my channel. And it was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go broke soon because my money was running out because I just happened to have some savings. But I got to the point where it was like a woo, and like I got real close, and it just sort of like, oh cool, I'm not broke now. Oh wow, I could actually pay rent this month. Nice. Well, I could always, like pay rent and then not be almost broke in that regard. So it was a weird sort of like, I didn't fall into it, but just like in between jobs, I was like, I felt like I was just like sort of in a car going off a cliff, and I was like, oh dang, and then the cliff happened to like sort of turn off to the left and then go down like the hill. And I was like, oh wow, so we're okay. I stayed on the road. I don't think I was in a great place when that happened, but it worked out, and I don't think I ever decided like, all right, it's happening, but I just sort of eventually evolved to where it's like, oh yeah, okay, no, it's working, and I could see the trajectory of like the revenue and be like, yeah, I can make a living now. So I didn't have to even think about going for another job after a certain point. It took like a year to get to there, but well, not a year, but I mean like a year between being without a job and then deciding, all right, YouTube's my thing now, Right.
So through all that, how did you get to, as you say, the I guess the era of your channel now with Easter eggs and glitches? How did that come to be?
Oh God. So if I try to recall everything, so I started out with anime music videos, which if I'm being honest, were actually pretty okay at the time, because okay meant they existed, and I was like, oh yeah, I think one of my videos got up to 20,000 views.
Do they still exist on the internet?
No, I deleted that channel and I regret it. I looked it up actually. There is exactly 3 Google results when you look up my name. 3. One is for a blog post in which someone references my name, and the other 2 are like weird, like SQL or what, I don't know what the term is, but like some sort of like database thing, like probably like a forum, but for some reason you can see like an intro from the database where it's just absolute nothing.
Right.
But it basically doesn't exist on the internet except in my brain. But they don't exist, but I did try to make more, but it just wasn't the same. But I did that because I liked editing. It sort of had a certain feel to it. Like, it was nice being able to sort of imbue, or just sort of have like an idea and be like, all right, I want to have Naruto backing by Fall Out Boy, and it's gonna be really cool. And then to be like, look, I made this, and it's like, whoa, that's actually really cool, and they get to feel that coolness. And for some reason, I got really into Let's Plays, so I did Let's Plays for years, but that went absolutely nowhere, and I kept stopping and starting because it's hard to stay committed to something like that when you're not actually trying to get better. Like, I was just like, all right, this is my good, this is my best I could do. And it was only after taking a break, I saw like that there was no good videos of Banjo-Kazooie Easter eggs. Like, I've told you, Banjo-Kazooie is a huge part of my life because it's my favorite game ever. And it happens to also be like, that is the one game, like, that is the game that made me go, okay, well, maybe I should try like making a script and actually like editing a video. And I did. And that was in 2016. And after that, I did Spore, another game, another one I really enjoyed. And I tried doing like a list for that one, but it didn't quite work out. But it was decent because Spore has a lot of Easter eggs, but not all of them are interesting. So I was like, 5 interesting Easter eggs in Spore. And then from there, I tried like, I've always liked glitches. I had a lot of, experience with glitches and World of Warcraft, because, that game has always been made of paper mache. And if you like jump in a weird spot, you can like fall through the world. And something about that made me enjoy the idea of messing with games. So I was like, all right, I'll do some glitch videos. And then, all right, we'll try some more. Oh, okay, well, I've already done, Ocarina of Time. Let's do Majora's Mask. Oh, I've done Majora's Mask. Why don't I jump and try some, Donkey Kong? Stuff like that. And it just went on and on. So it's just like, it started with sort of Banjo, I guess, and then sort of rolled from there. And I think I just picked those topics, Easter eggs and glitches, because I just generally like them. I think it's fun being able to go, whoa, hey, Bobbert, that's a real name. Look at this. Like, you could do a crazy glitch in Ocarina of Time that lets you teleport to the end of the game. And they're like, whoa, that's crazy. And I think it's just a really cool feeling to be able to share that.
Yeah, and so Banjo-Kazooie, I remember the Christmas I got a Nintendo 64, and I remember opening it up and getting Mario 64 and playing that game for weeks on Christmas break, and just how it changed me forever as a gamer. And with Banjo-Kazooie being your favorite game, is there a story that how you found it, why you were interested in it, or you just kind of play it one day, you're like, oh, I really like this, and kind of slid into a lifelong love of the franchise?
It's really weird because, I remember playing it back when I was like, I think it was like 6, because it came out when I was 4. We had N64, not immediately when the console came out, but like around that time. But I remember playing, I think, Super Mario Bros. On the NES for the first time after the N64 came out. So I was already like 6 or 7 or something like that at that point. I remember Super Mario Bros. I remember Duck Hunt. I remember all these games. I don't remember Banjo-Kazooie. I do remember I think my mom helped me figure out how to use the Talon Trot, an ability that lets you walk up steep slopes, which is required to get up the hub world from the first world to the second one. And I had no idea because you had to hold this weird N64 controller, press down one button, like move another button, and then hold the button the whole time. And I was like, oh, that's so complex. At least it was for me. But I managed to do it, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. But that's all I could really remember from that original run. And then also, I remember because I had a Banjo-Kazooie stuffed animal, which, or I guess plush, either way. I still have it. I've had it ever since then. It's been way too long. I ended up actually buying a new one, but I've yet to take the new one and display it because I need a display case for something that precious. But the one I've had, it's gone through so many, so many times I've moved house, so many different, years of my life. It's lost Kazooie. It's lost the backpack. It's lost the belt. It's faded, gross. I should probably clean it, but I just haven't bothered. But yeah, just like that stuffed animal or plush. I don't know what is the right term these days. It feels like it always changes. Through all these years, I've kept that with me, and in the same way, I've sort of kept love of Banjo-Kazooie because when you go back, it still plays really well. It's really witty. The writing is really good in a way that's like, oh, I'm a child, I'll laugh at this, haha. But also, when you play it as an adult, like there's a lot of like toilet humor that doesn't really come through. And literally, there is a literal toilet later on, so it's literal toilet humor, and I just like that. And then the music's great. Everything has eyes for some reason, which then makes it really weird when Kazooie eats every single Jiggy. Like I didn't think about that. She's murdering that stuff. I know she later like spits them up to put into jigsaw puzzles, but just a lot of weird stuff about that game. So every time I go back to them, like there's something more I could appreciate about it. And at this point, like I remember all of it, but it's like it's just gonna stay with me because it's just special, I guess.
And we had talked about it a little bit off air, but one thing that struck me about it, I just recently started playing it off your recommendation, and it just, if I love it, and I could feel once I get into it, I might start, be one of those people on the internet demanding him to be in Smash.
Yeah.
But, like, it just reminded me how bad Donkey Kong 64 was, and how, like, I wish they could trade. And that's selfish because I know he's a Banjo-Kazooie, they're beloved characters, but I wanted Donkey Kong 64 to be that, and it wasn't, and it hurt me so much as a young child that game was so bad.
Yeah, it's weird. So, I mean, it's weird because Donkey Kong came way before Rare even. It started with Jumpman in the original Donkey Kong arcade game. Like, when they came out on the Super Nintendo, it was super awesome. And even though I'll admit, despite being DPad gamer, with games like 2D side-scrollers like Donkey Kong Country that require a D-pad, I don't actually care for them that much. I like 3D platformers more, weirdly enough. So I should be called analog gamer. That's
doesn't quite roll off the tongue though.
Yeah, I called myself a stick gamer for April Fools, but either way, I even as a not huge fan of 2D games, Donkey Kong Country is masterpiece. It's really well made visually. It still looks great because they use this weird sort of graphics to make it happen. So what you'd think, okay, really great game, going to 3D. Mario, good. Banjo, first time in 3D, but I mean, like, it started in 3D. Oh, cool, it's good. Made by Rare Studios. Rare was killing it at the time. I don't know if Killer Instinct was then, but they had Killer Instinct. They had Jet Force Gemini, Banjo-Kazooie. Boom, let's do Donkey Kong Country. And they just puked out this garbage game. The level design is really, like, I've thought about Banjo a lot. Its movement is really good in the sense that Banjo is slow, Kazooie is fast. When you combine the two, you actually get this nice balance of speed and dexterity. The moves are nice. They feel good. It's responsive. But like with Donkey Kong, like I don't know. Maybe it was that they rushed it out. Maybe they saw, Mario's doing good. Ocarina's doing good. Banjo did pretty good. Hey, you should do Donkey Kong. And then they just spit it out. It's a very similar. I think it might be the exact same game engine because it came out only a year and a half later from Banjo. And when I was going through the glitches for Donkey Kong, some of the physics, even though I'd never played Donkey Kong 64 before, I knew the physics almost to a T because the way, like, for example, the way you move when falling off of a ledge is the exact same between the two games. They don't necessarily have the same glitches because Donkey Kong 64 has so many weird mechanics with their extra Kongs, like being able to shrink and stuff like that. But I think they just sort of recycled it, maybe. Probably didn't put a lot of effort. They're just like, this will be good. They tried their best, I imagine, but it's unfortunate. I do wish it had a better time. But to be fair, I think they've done really well going back to 2D, like with Donkey Kong Country Returns, and then that game, like, what is it, Frozen?
Tropical Freeze.
Tropical Freeze, yeah. Like, I think they've had a resurgence with those, so it's like, I don't think your big D man, big donkey dude, is that bad off. So don't you dare take Banjo. We have like two good things and that's it.
And why wasn't there more?
It's okay.
I'm ignorant to the whole story, but the first one seems good enough. There should have been like 8 after, you know.
Yeah. So the first one was good, awesome. They made a second. The second was good. Banjo-Tooie came out like I think a year or 2 after. Surprisingly fast turnaround, just like Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask. It happened to be a case where they used the same engine, same characters. They added more characters, and it was better, I think. They expanded on everything. It was a perfect sequel. I think I've even described it as such in one of my garbage critique videos. But the point is, after that, they did have another game. They had Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge on the Game Boy Advance. Any self-respecting game series would also try going on the handheld. Attacking the Power of Juju is one of those that I don't think a lot of people remember, but I remember playing that, and it had console, and it had handheld. Mario had console, handheld, Zelda, all those. But after that, it's like Nintendo just didn't want to pay Rare. I think it was a money issue. And whatever they were offering either wasn't anything at all, or it wasn't enough because Rare got bought out by Microsoft in 2011, I think. So at this point, it's been a while since they made a new game because just Rare... Maybe they couldn't come up with anything. The thing is, though, they did the whole of like, we'll be back in Banjo-Tooie. And then at the end of Banjo-Tooie, oh, we'll be back in Banjo 3E. And then that never happened because they got bought out by Microsoft. Microsoft took them in. They made a game. They took a while, but they made Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, where they forced Rare, I imagine, to retool it so many times that it came out as some deformed, disgusting beast that barely even is recognizable. The people within Rare ended up leaving, and a lot of them grouped back together to make Playtonic. And then Yooka-Laylee actually really sucked, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I remember watching your videos on Yooka-Laylee, and you could tell how disappointed you were in the game and the build up to it.
I made a review video for Yooka-Laylee after the fact, and I called it a bad spiritual successor because it's true. To call it a spiritual successor, I want to welcome everyone to the Yooka-Laylee Power Hour, where I just am angry for a whole hour about the game. It's not the worst game. There has been worse, but they promised so much, delivered so little. It felt so rushed. It honestly felt like a tech demo in a way of like, hey boss, come over. We got this. So if you can get on to Yuka and Laylee can roll around and like they move really fast. Isn't that great? Like the mechanic's working. It's like cool. All right, we shipped it. It's like wait, what? Like we're not ready. It's like no, not yet. It's just out. I know it's like a overused joke, but like it just feels so rushed. I think Playtonic to sort of carry on that Rare quality they had, that Rare aspect about them. But that's a double meaning there, obviously. But it's like I think it's possible, but just how it is, it's like their first foray. It was improved by the updates, but even then, it just felt real. It felt real shoddy. I think it's so minor, but like above everything else, in every they might have changed this, but like last time I played, in every single world, if you just look to the sky, there's supposed to be a skybox, but you can see that every single world is a square because in Unity, you make the worlds inside of a scene, and the scene has a square bounding box, but they never even tried to hide the fact that they're squares. It sounds really dumb. But if you go back to Banjo, go back to Mario, it's just it's an expanse of blue, expanse of just whatever sky color they have. Sure. But the point is you don't see like, oh, I can see I'm in a game. And I'm not trying to, jump into VR here with Yooka-Laylee, but the fact that even it's the tiniest thing, literally you just put fog. They have fog, but they don't put enough fog. It's like it's such a small thing. But it's like, come on. Like, it's just one of those things that's like, you can just fix it. Like, give me the Unity file. I'll take 10 days to figure out how it works, but because I've used Unity a little bit, but I'm I'm not about to act like I know what I'm doing. But give me like 10 days and I'll go through and I'll find the right slider and I'll up the fog and then boom. It won't look like we're inside of a box in every single level. Because these are supposed to be expansive worlds that are huge, and they literally have skyboxes to give the illusion of a grander world, but they can't fix that one aspect. But it felt like something about it. I imagine it was probably, well, it's really hyped. A lot of fans want this. They're really trying to do their best with new characters. It's not easy to make new characters and make them a hit right at the get-go, and they're also trying to iterate and make it so they're not recreating Banjo, but rather making their own thing. And when it's a Kickstarter thing where it's, you know, funded by fans, like that money can disappear quickly when you're trying your best. So, you know, maybe you have to cut corners, but it's like, yeah, it just didn't work out. And I imagine Donkey Kong 64 was similar, where they had goals maybe that were good, and it just didn't work out. But it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, well, speaking of the good rare days, you mentioned Jet Force Gemini, and that's one of those games that I feel like, I think it was popular when it was out. I remember definitely loving it, but it does not get remembered like I think it deserves, because I love that game. That was probably that's top 5 N64 game possibly for me.
Yeah.
Rare was pumping out gold for a while.
Yeah, they were. They were doing some great stuff. I remember almost nothing about Jet Force Gemini, except that there was a guy, there was a girl, and there was a dog. And I think they were armor that you could upgrade, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember upgrading the armor and being like, oh, that's cool. Because I've always liked in games where upgrades are represented physically on the character. So World of Warcraft, obviously, going back to that MMO, you put on new armor, it's like that. Skyrim, it's like that. You don't get that in Banjo-Kazooie, but in Jet Force Gemini, I was like, oh, you could upgrade your armor. And I remember, like, in one level, you run through a tunnel, and that tells you nothing. But, like, I could visualize sort of that tunnel. And maybe there's something with ants? Like, there was, like, alien things that looked like ants? I don't know. But more of my memories are from that game because... Or I remember that game because there are posters in Banjo-Tooie of Jet Force Gemini. That's it. That's all. It's the only reason I remember it, because they like to reference their own games in their games.
I'll have to look it up later, it's been probably 16 years since I've played that game. I remember it. I think it had kind of darker tones to it. Like, it was more of like the story and the way things played were a bit more real than, you know, obviously Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong, etc. And I think that really appealed to me because I was, you know, I think it was about to hit that tween stage where, you know, everything's sad and the world is awful type stage. So I think it kind of worked for me at that time.
I definitely feel that aspect. I don't remember the story, but I remember, I do definitely remember like the grim sort of feeling from the game, because you're going around blasting aliens, I think, and. Was it like you swap between characters and that's how you progress because they have different
special? Like, I think the dog had like rocket boots or something, like that, and stuff had like a little gun on his back. Yeah. I I don't remember a lot from the game, but definitely it was not forgettable. But there are certain games like that where it's like for example, I mentioned earlier, Attack and the Power of Juju. Like, that game did decent, and like I looked it up, and like it had its own TV show. That's a whole nother thing, actually. So many games have gotten TV shows that no one even know about. I wish Banjo got a TV show. That'd be great. It would have been so bad, but if only. So if you ever saw the Donkey Kong TV show, that was pretty awful.
I don't think I have, actually.
It's really bad. It was 3D. It was terrible.
Oh, it's like 3D animated or 3D computer generated, sort of. Like
early 2000s, probably, where they were pumping out all those 3D shows and they all look like crap.
Yeah, just feed that weird, gross models into right into me. I like it. Like Tack was like that, but it was actually this sort of weird charm to it. Like, the characters were really obnoxious, but like. It was on Nickelodeon, and it totally fit there, because it was like, oh yeah, that just looks like a Nick show. Oh wait, that's right, that's a game. That came from a game. Well, okay. Honestly, there's I could game like have you watched any other good video game TV shows? Because there's a lot of them.
Good TV shows based off video games.
Yeah.
I do like Sonic Boom.
Yeah.
Do you count Pokemon as based off of a video game? Because there's definitely good seasons of that.
Yeah, I guess that is the weird thing. I think Pokemon is the only one. Not to cut you off, I was just gonna say, I do think Pokemon is definitely one of those where it's transcended the fact that that's a game. It's not an anime. Oh no, it's an anime now because we have it's originally made in Japan, but yeah, like it started as a game and it just went from there. I think at this point it is its own thing because they don't have turns, they don't have items, they don't use items in the same way. Gyms are just willy nilly. But I have this weird fascination with video game TV shows. Like there was one for Kirby. I think a lot of people know about that one. Kirby.
I love Right Back at Ya. Yeah, that was so good, and I could only find it on YouTube. Like I wish I could watch a crisp version of it somewhere, but you can't, unfortunately.
I think again because that was owned by 4Kids, and they never did anything good with the property. But Kirby, way to go. It's like that. The theme song is like, something in my core. It's so good, and they've actually referenced Kirby Right Back at You. Just I think with I think Muscular DDD was from Kirby Right Back at You, and that's the first instance of it. I might be wrong there, but the Muscular King DDD from Kirby Star Allies. I think that was a reference. But either way, it's just like. There was one for Mega Man Battle Network, a game series that's already a spin-off from Mega Man. I don't care for Mega Man, but I love Battle Network. I've played every single one. The anime was just a retelling of the video games, but in a more fancy way, and it was really good.
I love that was that. I think they're all Fox Kids shows, at least in my area.
Yeah. Fox Kids, 4Kids. Well, I think
they're on Fox Kids Mornings or whatever.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that's... Yeah, but it's just like there's a couple sort of big distributors of these things. Obviously, Cartoon Network owned a good number of anime through their, Adult Swim / Tsunami. And then I think that's how I actually got into anime through all that. But yeah, it's just like they had all these different properties, and I think they were just throwing stuff and trying to make it work. It's weird. They've actually had, I think, 5 or 6 different Sonic the Hedgehog TV shows over the years. Okay, maybe only 4, but like Sonic Boom, you remember because it's new. There's Sonic X because that was right in the Sonic Adventure era. But even going back older, there was the Sonic animated TV show where, like if you watch Wreck-It Ralph, you'll see the reference like, if you'd see a stranger talking to you, that's no good. But yeah, it's like going back and listening to those things, it's like it's crazy how much stuff there is out there. Just TV shows and games. It's like, wow, we just forget about all this, don't we? Which is why I think like people can make entire YouTube channels just about talking about obscure, video game cartoons and like whatnot.
So we're running a little bit low on time, so we'll squeeze in some random questions just to find out things that people who follow you or even know you may not know.
Like rapid fire?
Yeah, I'll try to think of as many random ones that pop off the top of my head. Sure. They're making a movie of your life. You get to choose the casting. Who plays you?
Oh, God. Seth Rogen. So then people could laugh at him and his voice, and they would forget the fact that it's about me. Because a film about me sounds awful. Next question.
All right. So what's your favorite game that people who follow your channel wouldn't think that you're a fan of? Like, what's the not in that wheelhouse?
So Dark Souls is a go-to, but past Dark Souls, I am a huge fan of, I've mentioned a few times in this podcast, World of Warcraft. An MMO, it's still a thing, but it's really not as great these days, but it's having a sort of a reimagining of the original expansion called WoW Classic coming out. and I'm so excited. I started with MMOs, like that was like my introductory sort of to PC, and I've loved that series for so long. So it's definitely World of Warcraft is the one thing that people are like, wait, what? Why? Because I do cover PC stuff, but not that much. A lot of my stuff is Nintendo, a lot of platformers, a lot of stuff like that. So like a online MMO like that is probably not something a lot of people even know about or expect.
So two things about World of Warcraft and MMOs real quick. I got a story for you and then a question. There was a MMO that was out around the same time as World of Warcraft where you were superheroes and it was really popular. Do you remember what it was called? I'm blanking on it.
Yeah,
no, it's super popular.
Was it like Cities of Heroes or something like that?
City of Heroes, yes.
City of Heroes, yeah.
Yeah, I was really... I'd never had a really nice computer growing up, and I wanted to get into MMOs because a good friend of mine had, or loved World of Warcraft. I'm like, I don't know about that, but I want to try City of Heroes. So I get on, I find a group, and I'm playing. I don't have a mic or anything at this point. Do my first battle... And then I hear someone say, well, let's just wait for this guy to run and Leroy Jenkins this again. And it hurt me so bad that I have not played an MMO on PC since.
Oh, man.
Scarred me pretty good.
Dang.
They were not accepting and polite. But my question about World of Warcraft for you is, what did you think about the movie?
Oh, so the fact you said the word... movie, and I was like, oh, that's right, there was a movie. I watched it. I totally forgot. It was actually, like, to be honest, it wasn't that bad. Like, when you think back about it, it's like, it's so forgettable. But they actually did a decent job of certain aspects of, like, reimagining Khadgar's tower. Like, at one point, there's, a glowing yellow light. That's because he leveled up. He dinged. Every time you ding, there's a whoosh, and like there's golden light. That was that in the movie. But it doesn't. It doesn't connect when you actually watch it. But it's like, oh my god. And there's some other aspects like that of like little tidbits. It was disappointing, that's for sure. But it's like, and super forgettable because literally I just remember that exists. But yeah, it was not bad. I do wish it was like their full on team that worked on like all their cinematics would be given an infinite budget. If I could choose a movie, it'd be like give Blizzard an infinite budget for their cutscenes and just have a cutscene that's an hour or and a half long. Then you have the movie because their cutscenes are incredible. I'm not, like I said, I maybe played the game for 20 minutes. I thought the movie was pretty good, especially for a video game movie because there's a lot of bad ones. I mean, at some point in the Resident Evil ones, one of the directors was like, I don't want zombies in it. I hate zombies. And refused to use zombies in the fucking Resident Evil movie. How do you make a Resident Evil movie without zombies? It's like a super heroine sort of scenario.
I didn't even see the last movie. And I love the games. I liked the first few movies. They actually did a pretty good job of being entertaining and not like... Because you can't follow the games too closely and make a movie. It just wouldn't work. But being respectful, and then they just like completely just fell off the rails and just like threw in characters like, see, they're in a game, you know that name, like it.
Yeah,
and it was
they
bad. Essentially
made the movie version of Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance compared to Metal Gear.
Yes,
it's just so off. It's so crazy. It's like like when you look at it these days, it's just like, oh, that's right. That started as Biohazard. Like, dang.
So now you got me sad thinking about how bad that movie was.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, you brought it up. Like,
that's true. It is my fault, but I tend to blame other people for my problems. We were talking about, and I want to bring this back real quick. Video game TV shows. Have you gone back and watched the animated Mario one with the former pro wrestler who played Mario and the other tall old guy who played Luigi? Have you watched that any time in the last few years?
Yeah, so I think it's fair use, but I used Do the Mario, like swing your arm from side to side, as the outro to some of my videos for a time in like 2017. So like when I did that, I went back and rewatched it and I was like, wow, this is not good. It was so offensive. Rough.
It's got a lot of racist things in it.
Oh,
it's
wait, really?
like not great. Oh yeah,
I don't recall seeing anything like that, but yeah.
There's a episode where they have Merlin, but because like they rip off stuff without violating copyrights, I don't remember what name they used, but they made him like a caricature of a Jewish person.
Oh,
like the way he talked and like he liked bagels and stuff. It was really like, wow, like I don't think you can say this type of stuff that
Dang.
only can
I just
happen
thought
in
it
the
was
90s.
a fun, happy, swing your arm from side to side kind of deal. Not like, I mean, to be fair, like there's a lot of shows like that, like how Disney was like super racist for a time, and
Yes.
just everyone forgets about it.
I don't think it was trying to be racist. I think it was more like
Sure.
the 90s were really tone deaf to being respectful to people. Because there's a lot of the show that is really happy and kind of ridiculous, but still fun and like in a weird way charming.
It's like when your grandma says something, you're like, oh, she's from a different time.
Yeah.
But your grandma in
Yeah.
this case is a cartoon show. Yeah, I feel that.
Man, I wish I could remember the name of the episode, but yeah, it was not great. And there's I don't know if you consider he only talked about pasta the whole show too, which to me got kind of frustrating. And then the really bad Legend of Zelda cartoon that they advertised during it was so bad.
Yeah. And then, better than the Legend of Zelda, even just throw that out. The fact that for, I think the original Zelda, they had a advertisement in Japanese where every character got together and they had a Zelda rap, and then they all danced at the end.
Oh, that sounds
Have
awful.
you not seen that?
No.
No, it's incredible. It's like, I can't speak Japanese, but like, and I'm not going to try to like hum it or anything, but it's just like, if you look up like Zelda Japanese commercial rap, it's so good. Unironically, it's like, it's so bad that they did it, but it's like, it loops back to being good again. But the point is, those old shows, it's just like, I don't know. Was that considered good? Did they think it was good? Were they just given like the budget for one person spread across 10 and just told to make a show? Like, I don't know what happened.
I am like you. I love going down weird ass rabbit holes and just learning weird shit that I'll never get to use except for when we talk about it like this. The Mario cartoon was really low budget, so they did what they could. And I know it was so bad, Nintendo was just like, we're going to erase this from memory. Like, we don't want to talk about it.
Oh. Yeah, well, wasn't actually, that makes me remember now that it was like, yeah, so that it was the Super Mario Super Show. They had segments live action, I think, because that stretched out the time. Because their episodes were only like 6-7 minutes, right?
Yeah, they're incredibly short. And then they also always advertised Zelda, which added another 2 or 3 minutes to it. So they were really, really short.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel bad because I really feel like the guy, they're both dead. The guy who played Luigi recently passed away, I believe.
Yeah.
But they were trying. The material was god awful that they were given, and at times like
sure,
very cringeworthy. And I felt bad. They were trying, and I feel like they get kind of blamed for it, but it wasn't their fault.
Oh yeah, no, I would say it's definitely not right to blame. I would never say, in very few specific exceptions, never blame the actors for a show being bad if it's clear that it's bad from top to bottom. Like that one is like, I imagine they probably only had like they probably had a fraction of the normal amount of time to storyboard each episode, and you know it was so short. I wouldn't be surprised if they only had a few animators on it. Like this kind of thing where it's like, all right, we have this property, it'll work. Just do it. And it's like, well, but what about that? No, just do it. It's like, okay. It's like, oh, great. Now we have 5 extra minutes. So just get up on there and just sort of dance around, say stuff. But I was going to say, you mentioned how like, oh yeah, you always talk about pasta. Are you forgetting, sir, that even as recent as Super Mario Odyssey, when he falls asleep and you listen to him, he just goes, linguine, ravioli.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that till I watched your video on it.
Yeah, that's like super. Is that okay? I don't know, but like
I don't know.
It's still a thing. I think at this point, it's just like, yeah, that's just who he is. Because I think at this point, he's not even Italian. He's just Mario Ease, and Mario Ease happens to really like pasta, so it's not racist. It's just he's just being Mario. You know, like
He's just being Mario. Yeah.
It's become its own thing because it's existed for so many years. But yeah, they definitely. I mean, like I don't think any single person that worked on Super Odyssey happens to have any negative feelings. But the fact is, like, yeah, it's still a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sort of like a holdover. But yeah.
I like to think maybe it's just kind of a nod to his past or something, not necessarily. Well, I guess it's not really problematic, though.
Well, if you read my comments, every time he jumps and he says "Wahoo!" that's a reference to the original Mario because literally nothing can be its own thing. It's always a reference. Yeah, like that specifically is a reference because he would talk in his sleep. But he's talking in his sleep, I think, since Super Mario 64. He didn't. I think in every game since every main platformer, and it's always been weird.
You talked about everything being a reference, and so I can't not remember the name of the subreddit, but there's a subreddit that's basically like shitty explaining movies, and it's just really
it's shitty movie details.
Yes, my favorite being the Pet Cemetery being spelled wrong, and this is a reference to that kids are shitty at spelling.
Yeah,
and I
it's
immediately
if you look very closely, you could tell that. Like I don't know. It's like, oh, you can tell if you look very closely that Bumblebee, the movie's named that because the main character is a car whose name is Bumblebee. And it's like, yeah, definitely, me too. Thanks.
The formula for that sub shouldn't work every time for me, but it does.
It totally does because it's lampooning those people. Like I've tried not to fall into that trap. It's just like, yeah, when he jumps and he says "Wahoo!" Like, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I will say, though, like, there are certain things where it's like, is that a reference? Is it not? Like, every time, like, Mario jumps, and I think it's, like, something like Super Mario World, he does a different pose that's iconic from the original, like, the original game. Like, in Super Mario Odyssey, every time he collects a star, he does a pose. Each pose is a reference to one of his original things. Like, he does the jump, like, where, like, you know, right arm up, left arm down, two legs spread apart, and it's like that like iconic sprite from the original game. Mm-hmm. He does that pose. He does one pose where it's like from like I think Super Mario Sunshine, stuff like that, where it's like they reference it. So like, is that just them making animations? Is it a reference? Is everything a reference? Is life a lie? I don't know. But I just love that subreddit because it's like, yeah, some people just go a little too hard, a little too crazy. Like, I'll get comments of just like, oh, you didn't notice how Luigi's last name is Mario because it's a reference to the name of the series. And like, oh, yeah, it's cool. Uh-huh.
Wait, so canonically, is he Luigi Mario? And,
canonically?
Yeah, sorry.
I think canonically, I think he is Mario. I don't know why, but yeah, I think that's true. It's weird.
So not to go down another rabbit hole, but that bit from the live action movie, I'm Luigi Mario, I'm Mario, and they're like, oh, this is so funny, still pisses me off to this day. Don't know why, but god damn it.
Wow, the fact that you didn't say the whole movie, like that's crazy to me.
I see.
What about the fact that Toad was like a dinosaur, like, and
they stabbed it for some reason?
Oh, well,
and the Goombas. What the hell were the Goombas?
Yeah. It was a bad time.
Random movie fun fact that's in my brain. The boots that the Goombas wore from Super Mario were the same boots the prisoners in Face Off are wearing when they're on the Super Max prison on an island.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Not related. In Super Mario, the original, if you read the pamphlet, which back when there was pamphlets with every single game, the booklet, there was a description of the stuff. They described how Bowser stole Peach and turned all the citizens of the Mushroom Kingdom into blocks. The same blocks that you end up breaking in every single world. So he was a murderer.
But is it murder if they're already dead? Like, if you...
Well, that feels like a justification at that point.
It's like if you hit a mummy with a bat, you're not going to go to jail for that, right? Like, because they're already dead.
Well, I mean, do you Do you just like uncover mummies and start hitting them, or is it when they're walking at you in a threatening manner? I'm just saying, like, they were just sitting there minding their own business, and you're like, I gotta get those points. It's like Undertale. What? It's a spoiler, but it's like, oh yeah, I'm just getting some like, I'm just getting some level of violence up.
Well, if the mummy had coins in it, yeah, I would try to hit it open and get the coins out.
Unless you're trying to avoid coins, in which case, don't kill the people. Yeah.
With that being said, everyone go watch Nathaniel Bandy's videos.
Yeah, there you go.
To bring it back around before we end it, I really, you got me thinking about now, I would love to do a whole episode of this podcast about video game, TV shows, and movies.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of good ones that we could be proud of. I think, like we talked about, there's only, like, Kirby right back at you.
No, I think the only one you can get away with without the collective internet being angry is Pokemon, because it started as a game, but it's become its own thing over all these years. And it still follows the game. Like they change, like, regions every time to follow the generations, but it's like, yeah, there was, I remember thinking about this for movies, and there was some game, and I was like, oh, that was it, but like I totally forgot, like, but yeah, there's been, I think it's key that, like, for a video game movie to work, it can't seem like a video game, which is so counterproductive. Like, you'd think like a game like Mass Effect, it's so story driven before the third one, and like it was good. It's like, why not turn that into a movie? Like, oh, it's like they just don't try to make good movies. They go and make the Sonic.
Oh God. Yeah. So on that note, we'll probably have to end it for the day. Sorry to end it on such a downer, but so where can people find you?
YouTube and Twitter at DPad Gamer. That's my name.
All right.
That's where I'm at.
And I am at Brock Holiday 11. Be good people.